everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
If you've ever struggled to see things through to completion or put the pieces in place to get things done, then do we have the Micro Habits show for you? Not too sexy today, I know. Today we'll talk about stumbling over success, how to do it, why you want to do it, and how to make things so super simple it's hard not to get them done. That plus we'll talk about hanging keys on reindeer, tripping over shoes, clothing bins in cars, giving up movies, where to keep Teddy, and why you want to watch your balance while you're brushing your teeth. So welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine. You know what? I have to share one thing, my big epiphany for the week. Okay, so I was meeting with a dear friend, and I said, you know what was, I told you I went to that Dr. Joe event. And one of my big epiphanies, because sometimes, unlike in the previous Dr. Joe where a lot of stuff happened, there was a lot of stuff that happened. Now I'm almost jaded. Like, oh, you know, I've had like 3 spiritual experiences, but none of them like blew my head open. So that's like, you know, less than, which is insane, right? But I had really a lot of really good spiritual experiences. But it was almost the afterwards what kind of shook loose and the kinds of thing that I was working on. And one of the things that my big insight is that I feel like, and I think we talked about this during the previous, maybe 2 shows previous, about how I'm realizing that I'm on the part of my spiritual path where I was focused a lot on letting go of ego. And I think I've described this to you before as like I'm driving the car and the ego's on the side, like, you know, first of all, my ego was driving. And then somehow I wrestled control over my ego. My spiritual self was driving. and then somehow we've switched places back and forth. And now I'm at the point where my spiritual self is driving and my ego is on the side. And it's interesting because I feel like I've been focusing on the tension between my ego and myself.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like the more you feed that dynamic, the more it gets worse. You know, it's better to just, and then I realized it's like a dog with a stick where you're like, let go, let go, let go. And the dog's like, you know, and you spend all your energy with the dog. Let go, let go, let go. You know, and then finally, I've done so much work that the dog started off, it actually started like as a big black bear. And now it's like a chihuahua with a big bone. And like, I don't need to pay any more attention to it. And so I reached a point in my spiritual journey where I realized that the big black bear that was chasing me, and I really did have to spend a lot of attention on, focusing on, is now a little chihuahua. And spending attention on it is just, it's just energy that can be deployed elsewhere. And that really, my epiphany was it's about opening up and just receiving what is. And I'm realizing it's really, really hard. Exactly for the conversation we had 2 shows ago, because there's a part of us deep inside that feels like we're not worthy to receive. And I spent all this week just working on issues that I've had over the course of my life on feeling not worthy of receiving. And what I realized is it's a little package. It's not that you're not worthy of receiving. It's that you feel like you have to do things to receive. So anyway, that's my big insight for this week is yeah. Sorry, I've been blathering.
No, it's very cool. There's several important tie-ins with that. One is we aired a beautiful show just a couple of days ago from Dr. Dane here on bringing more. I was calling it bringing more magic and abundance into your life. And during the interview, he goes, you know, we can call it magic, we can call it abundance. People really need and want money. So why don't we just call a spade a spade?
Right.
People want money. So I said, great, you're right. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how people can bring more money into their lives. And then I gave the show a title having to do with money. Crickets. Because people are afraid to ask for what they want, just like you're saying.
Interesting. Wait, you're saying that there are not a lot of people that watch that particular show.
Not as many as our average show right now, because it had the word money in it, and people, there's a a feeling that, oh, I don't want to ask for money. I'd feel guilty by asking for money, meaning I don't want to listen to a show about making more money because that'll make me seem greedy, or that'll make
Right.
me seem like I'm abusing the purpose of self-help or spirituality, where really money can do a lot of good for all of us.
Right.
But there is that stipulation about not wanting to ask for what you want, which gets into all issues of self-worth, of guilt, of upbringing, of getting in our own way. A lot of what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, it is really interesting. I think that, and it's weird to do so much work on my spiritual journey to get the bear to be down to like a chihuahua, right? Like a small, harmless dog. That took a lot of work, right? But in some ways, the weird place is that it seems like receiving should be kind of natural and easy, but it really isn't. It's the weirdest thing, but it's hard to receive because we feel guilty or shameful or that we have to do something or that we don't deserve to receive. Anyways, it's just an interesting period in my spiritual journey. Um, and actually, in order to receive and let new things into your life, oftentimes you have to let go of the old things. So there's a little bit of a, to receive, you have to let go, surrender. And it's just this very interesting part of a spiritual journey, I think, is
I,
surrendering like all the baggage that I don't need to carry around anymore.
that's something I got in automatic writing yesterday, and I'm guessing maybe this weekend would be a good opportunity to do something about that. Particularly as our studio is doing double duty on this extra project we get to do at the
Right.
moment, that I'm feeling the need and heard in my automatic writing that I need to declutter to make space for.
Yeah.
And that's in a sense what you're talking about is we can't receive or be open to that when we're full. And certainly we know that when our minds are going 24/7, we can't hear anything outside of our own minds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love the idea of someone recently, I can't remember even where I heard it, but they were saying, for Christmas, I'm really hardcore. I'm like, you're not bringing anything into the household unless you delete something of equal size or something in the household. And I thought, that's just brilliant, because I think it's like you said, you only have so much space available. So you have to make space for new things to arrive.
Yeah.
But it's
And that
interesting, yeah, because when that happens, though, what happens is all this fear arises because when you remove all this stuff that you have, then you're in the unknown, and that's
Mhm.
the part that I literally am having nightmare after nightmare, or just my unconscious is working through that whole process of what it means to be in the unknown and have nothing or know nothing and receive. It's the weirdest thing.
It's interesting you say nightmare after nightmare because I forgot, I write down all of my dreams, but I had a dream last night or the night before that I guess vaporized, and I don't think I got it down. Maybe I did, and I don't even remember that I wrote it down.
Uh-huh.
But I had it was an epiphany dream, and then I had one of those screamer dreams where something happens that you're going to be, screaming breakthrough where you wake up your spouse
Yeah.
and they hear you a few city blocks
Yeah.
away, and and I went to scream. And I said to myself, wait, 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 it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And in my dream, the first time ever, I talked myself out of a scream.
Oh, that's interesting.
I talked myself into, because if something were to, quote, go wrong on this physical plane, I'm going to be the first one. I might go, oh, crap, but then I'm going to be, nope, we can get through this. We're going to be all right. Everything's fine. No need to worry. In my dreams, I go the exact opposite direction.
Right.
And I'm just screaming for the hills. And this time I actually went to that. It's going to be okay.
I
It's going to
love
be all
that.
right.
Wow.
I didn't even
That's,
remember. That was a breakthrough.
yeah, that's a shift in consciousness that you can actually go into your dreams and shift your consciousness in while
So,
you're supposedly unconscious, right?
yeah,
They're
it wasn't as
waking
lucid.
dreams.
Jessica has those actually full-on lucid dreams where she'll like go off a cliff and go, ha, ha, I know this is a dream. This is going to be whee! I don't quite have that success
Well, maybe
yet.
you're working towards that direction.
Could
Wait, I
be.
have a question for you too, because you said that you actually had some type of learning that you had in your automatic writing. What was that learning again? I
Oh,
couldn't remember it.
well, there was a this they blah, 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 blah. Yesterday's and today's kind of flow when I step back and see them that way. So yesterday I was given instructions of you need to make space in order for new to come in.
Okay, got it.
So you need to do it in clearing. Today what I got, and today was my first time that I listened, and I've been working toward getting up early to get things done and get our next book done.
Mm-hmm.
And I've hit a wall somewhere between 5 and 5:30 I've been trying to break through. Even though I've been waking up before that, but I've been going, oh, I feel too tired. I'm going to go back
Right.
to sleep. And yesterday in automatic writing, I got the trust, just do this. You're going to be fine. And this morning I had the funkiest dream of my grandfather, Aaron Kramer, bless his soul. He was an eye doctor in Brooklyn at a time when I guess Brooklyn's had a rebirth now. It went through a rough period for a while.
Right.
This was in the earlier period where people would go past his apartment in his office. Hey, Doc. Hi, Doc. How you doing, Doc?
Mm-hmm.
And he was known as this singing, dancing ophthalmologist who was like the loving joy of everybody around. It was
I love it.
amazing. And so I had on this old TV, like a TV you could picture like Howdy Doody on,
Right.
real old school
Yeah, yeah.
television in my dream. And there he is on some TV show in front of me doing a dance
Singing.
and singing, and it was some variety show, and he's really having a blast. And it was his way of getting me up this morning.
Oh,
And
how
I got up
funny.
at 4 o'clock to my grandfather dancing. And I'm like, all right,
I
I get it, because
love it.
I haven't seen him in a dream that I can recall ever. So, and he
Wow.
passed away 10, 15 years ago. So, and here he was dancing for me. So I got up, I had faith. I crawled over to my computer, wrote a few things down, did my meditation, did my automatic writing. And in automatic writing, what I got is you've been watching comedies to kind of get yourself going. That's great. It's now time to stop the movies. And every time that you want to go to a movie to kind of recharge your brain right now, I want you to dive into automatic writing.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
like, oh, crap.
That's
Because
interesting.
that sounds hard. I'm going to
Yeah.
do it.
Right.
Um, and I think there's this new, we all have these voices in our heads are going to take me away in a straitjacket after this. We all have intuition speaking to us at
Right.
all moments. And I think sort of like you putting ego in the passenger seat and you're letting heart and intuition drive more, I'm starting to get a little bit of a clearer channel. Either that or starting to have more of a psychotic break from reality, in which case the show will be gone anyway. But people had fun in the meanwhile. Shouldn't even say that from a law of attraction point of view. But the fact of the matter is, I feel like I'm getting in touch more with my intuitive side.
Mm-hmm.
And so, whatever automatic writing is, it doesn't even matter if I'm getting in touch with the still quiet voice inside of me.
Mm.
And so, what my voice inside of me is telling me to do is to take the time to listen more.
Mm.
That's beautiful and a huge commitment, and I can see benefits of it. So, and I'm not even, it doesn't even have to be that everything I'm told is I don't know if I want to say accurate or what. Before the show, I'm going, what are we going to talk about? And it turns out so far we're not even on the topic that I wrote down. But the general I said, what am I going to talk about? Well, you could talk about this, you could talk about that, you could talk about the other thing. And what it gave me the ability to do is just get something on paper and move on.
Right. Well, it's interesting because in as you're describing what your learning was this morning, your channeled writing, it was about not watching movies, right? It's not watching movies that someone else created a movie. It's like watching the movies of your own inner soul, right? Which
Well
is,
put.
yeah, so it's saying, yeah, if you want to like check out from whatever the daily reality is that you're doing, you're editing, or you just need a break, or you're reading and you need a break, you can watch this movie and it's going to be way more energizing and interesting than some other movie where they're characters that aren't even you. I just think that that's interesting. It's an interesting insight and counterintuitive, right? The intuitive part is thinking, well, yeah, if I was actually tuning into my own movies, that would be more energizing. So that's really what you're trying to do. It's a distraction and energy, a little break from the day-to-day reality. So um, part of it is counterintuitive because you're like, what? That seems like it's work. But I can also see how intuitively it would make sense because, I mean, we're watching movies all day long.
we had on we had on another psychologist yesterday, and who was talking about myelinated neurons.
Hmm.
Basically, as you're a little kid, not only when you things that fire together wire together your neurons, but the more you think a thought as a little kid, the more fat gets laid down along these tracks of neurons in your brain cell, and they act as superconductors, and they'll pass
Interesting.
signals 100, 200, maybe 3 or
Wow.
400 times faster
Hmm.
than the thought would normally travel, because you've
Wow.
got such an efficient groove laid down in the record. You
Right.
can still create those as an adult, but it's much harder and slower. It's
Hmm.
fastest before 7, second burst at puberty, and then the myelination really slows down. So if I am going to my automatic writing, if I'm saying, all right, I really want to watch a movie because I'm feeling kind of down right now, or kind
Hmm.
of my energy level is going low. If instead I go to my writing, what I'm doing is I'm laying down fiber, I'm laying down neurons, I'm laying down
Hmm.
neurons. If I keep doing that over a period of 10, 20, 30, 40 days, I guess this does go into micro habits.
Right.
If I keep this habit up, because that's what we were talking about yesterday, was positivity and how to lay down tracks in the brain for
Mm.
positivity. And she was saying 3 times a day for just a couple minutes over 45 days, and you're going to have a myelinated, basically an optic fiber cords or cable, whatever we call it, um, laid down in your brain track, I guess, for positivity. And so if I'm going to the automatic writing multiple times a day, I'm laying down fiber, putting a groove in my brain that's going to reach for my higher self, my intuition first. So I'm
Hmm.
really building a level of connection, a level of communication.
Hmm.
That's actually kind of cool when I think about it. I didn't think about it on such a heady level, but the fact is we all hear the voices, but it's hard to disseminate what's ego, what's my heart, what
Hmm.
is my gut speaking, what isn't. And I guess I'm being given that opportunity to practice that, and I think it'll get clearer over time.
Right. It's about practicing. Okay, so is that why? So that's why you're giving up movies, but you talk about tripping over shoes, clothing bins, and cars. Is that why you're clearing space so that you have more space to
Well,
go
we're
with that?
clearing space. A lot of these actually have to do with habits that have been set up over time. When I
Mm.
went to grad school, having been diagnosed as a child as ADHD poster child,
Mm-hmm.
was on the medications until puberty. They took them off at that time, and I bounced around a bunch, but I made it through with the bicycle as my medication.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became nature as my medication. When I went back to grad school, I found things woefully inaccurate or inadequate.
Mm.
And I remember taking it gave me an IQ test along with another battery of tests
Mm-hmm.
for ADHD and surveys. And I was doing a dual accelerated master's degrees at the time. So I was on complete overload.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember scoring, I think, below 100 in all of the major categories,
Mm-hmm.
basically uh, what they would term probably village idiot.
Right.
And here I was on full scholarship for an MBA and a computer degree, and
Wow.
my brain was on mush. And so I temporarily went back on meds. A long time ago. I found a way to rewire since then, but I went back on meds. At the time, I called it like putting glasses on so I could at least see what the problems were that were
Right.
going on. And I restructured my life. And so when I say tripping over the shoes, one of the things I found is I'm going, I can't find my keys. I can't find my wallet. I can't find my
Mm.
books. How am I going to get out of the house? Blah, 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 blah. And then the brain would go into lockdown as it's a smoldering ruin. And I joke about that time period as I discovered I had to put systems in place, micro habits, if I was going to give myself the bandwidth, the space, to get through the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would literally have my shoes at the front door. Things that needed to go with me may have been put into my shoes. I had labeled pockets on my backpack, which was then hanging on the front door. So I would trip over my shoes to get out the front door. Everything was there ready to go. And if I found something, like in the evening, I would say, oh, here are my keys by my desk. Whoops. Let's run them downstairs and put them, at that time, it was put them right in your shoes. So that when you go to put the
Oh,
shoes on and you step on your keys, you've got your keys.
wow.
Little micro habits that created the space both for more to come in and to give me the breathing room to get through the day.
Interesting. Okay, so is that hanging keys on the reindeer for you now?
Well, we have, yes, we have a golden reindeer by the front door, which I always think is funny because, and this is a multi-generational home. It's Jessica's parents' home.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think of the golden reindeer, for some reason, I can't help but think of Moses and the Ten Commandments and coming down off of Mount Sinai and seeing everybody, they've created a golden calf.
Oh,
And I don't know why when I walk in the front door here, it's I think symbolic in Chinese culture. There's something very prosperous about having this golden reindeer, and I
that's
can't help think of the golden calf. But the horns, the antlers, have become where I put my keys.
I hope your relatives are okay with that.
I think it was my father-in-law who gave me the
Oh, he did.
idea.
So those are the micro habits that you have so that you can
Now,
just, yeah, so that you can not lose everything. So when you're kind of like have so many things on your mind that you have these little micro habits. I have a similar type of thing. The door is where anything I want to have returned, I put in front of the door, or I just put everything in front of the door. Or we have this thing where if we're going downstairs, you see the thing on the top of the landing and you take it down, or at
exactly.
the bottom of the landing, you take it up. But if anything that you see on those landings mean that they have to go up or down. So we
No,
have a
that's
similar kind of thing.
It's perfect. And then there are certain things where you drop everything and take care of it rather than wait till later, because then you may completely forget about it.
Yes.
So Monday is trash day. If Sunday night you suddenly remember it's trash day, then you just drop everything, take it outside. Don't even think twice. Don't go,
Yeah.
I'll take care of that before I go to bed. Now is the time to do it.
Yeah. It's a kind of a proactive mindset. My husband said, I marvel at watching at you because it's amazing how much stuff you get done and how when you find something that you need to do, you do it. And it's a small thing that is going to be easy to forget. You do it that moment so you won't forget. And so I have a similar kind of thing. For my keys, I literally have, you know how they have those little hooks? I literally hook it to my pocketbook so I
Mhm.
can't lose it. Because women have this additional gift or burden of a purse. So the purse is this big rectangular square of which you end up putting more and more crap in. And so finding your keys ends up being this like rustling experience, like where are my keys? And then, so I just literally clip it to my bag. So I don't ever have to worry about where my keys are. They're just clipped onto the bag.
I
Except
like that.
except when in fact, 6 months ago, I lost all my keys. I don't even know what I was doing, but generally that micro habit has worked, except for that
There was a
large
time,
exception.
I'm not sure who sells the exact thing now. There was a time where I was using, I think it was from Brookstone, a key finder device
Yeah.
where you put, now they do it Bluetooth. This was even pre-Bluetooth. You put one key fob on your purse, for instance. You put another one on your key, and then you press a button on one, and the other beeps if you need to find it.
Yep. Yeah, we have that,
So,
but they have it now. It's called the Tile. I just bought them for Christmas for a stocking stuffer that you stick it on your keychain, you stick it,
mhm.
and then it pairs up via Bluetooth via your phone, and then also hooks up with your anything that you could lose, like your PC or whatever, and you can just like with a certain, press the button and it like everything is beeping so you can find the things that you've lost. All right,
Small
so
child.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just put it on your children, your dog. Okay, so what about clothing bin in cars? Is that also part of your micro
Yeah,
habits?
so Jessica's always had plastic bins in her car. She likes to keep specific things in there. And what I've
Oh,
done is so that we can go for our runs, and I was doing it this summer for our swims, and I've actually kept my swimming gear in the car minus the suit as an optimistic for springtime.
yeah.
But but I'll have the bin for that she initially set up, and then I put specific items in it so that whenever I go for a run, I don't have to worry, do I have everything? Do I have anything? It's always got a home, and it makes it so much simpler to get out the door quickly. You get in the car, turn the key, go to the trails, open the bin. There it is. Boom. If you're in the house and you see, oh, wait, I brought my jacket in the house, either your jacket goes to your front door, so you're going to trip on it getting to the car, or don't pass, go collect $200, throw it right back in the bin right now so you don't have to worry about it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, we do something very similar to that at our household too. So those are all these micro habits. And then what's where to keep Teddy?
So teddy bear and all associated accoutrements for the night's sleep all have their place by the bed as well. I've actually been having, it's interesting that the dream happened in this timing and something else. I've been getting this sense, something that's been coming to me from automatic writing about stepping into my own power. Not as an ego place. We have to all step into our own power. You have to own your CJ-ness. I have to own my Michael-ness.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that I've been getting in automatic writing is to be tall. And to be tall means to sit tall, to stand tall, to fill up more space like an oak, like a redwood. And normally when I sleep on my side. I'm fairly neurotic. You put the pillow, this came from my titanium parts, you put the pillow between your knees, you're kind of curled up on your side, you've got your pillows just such, blah, blah, blah. And recently I've just started doing, I found myself waking up on my back on occasion, with my back actually a little bit sore because of that. And it's fairly unheard of for me to sleep on my back. But recently Jessica's challenged me because she doesn't like to go to bed as early as me. And so she's been staying up and making not much noise, but noise.
Yeah.
If you move around, noise happens.
Right.
And at first I couldn't fall asleep with that. And then I fell asleep a little easier and a little easier. And now I've been telling myself, sort of like you have a cast iron stomach, I've been saying, I can sleep no matter what. It doesn't matter what noise you make. And so I got to a point a few days ago and I said, your back does get a little sore when you wake up on your back, but I think that's actually going to make you taller. Meaning you're not curling up.
Right.
It said not to curl anymore, to be tall.
Right.
And so the last few days I've gone to sleep on my back without this whole conundrum of pillows and stuff, and I actually managed to fall asleep. The backs felt better. My posture, which is good, is even better now. And that's where these positive dreams started coming.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So it
Wow.
might be a loose connection, but there might be something to that. And it's interesting. I'm dropping old habits to make way for new and a lot simpler, going from the 3 pillows to barely using one.
Yeah, like to me, it seems like the themes that I'm hearing, because I think that these themes are recurrent, right? They're part of the human experience as we move from fall into winter,
Mhm.
right? Because December 21st is the winter solstice. I think it's like the last minute like purge, right? Like all this stuff that you need to let go of. Your body's like, okay, like nature's supporting you. And I think we talked about this maybe 3 weeks ago, but I do think that it's about letting go and then literally being in the winter. If you think about a tree, like all the leaves have fallen down, the tree has let go of everything and it's completely in its bareness out in the middle of nowhere, and all the activity happens underneath. All this stuff is happening. Oh my gosh.
This was today's interview,
Really? Okay, what did
the
the person
hidden life
say?
of
Okay,
trees.
so tell me what this person said.
So we were talking about winter time, and winter time is the time for the tree. The tree needs sleep just like we need sleep.
Mhm.
And wintertime, fall is the time of detox. So
Mhm.
just like you're saying, so a lot of times the color that you see in the leaves, first off, they'll pump back in the chlorophyll, most of the trees, to save that so they don't have to replenish it in the springtime, the green pigment in the leaves.
Mhm.
But then they'll pump out the toxins into the leaves so that the leaves can fall off and they're detoxed
Oh.
before the winter. He actually joked, Peter Wohlleben, he joked and said, well, if you ever wondered basically how trees poop, um, they put their stuff into the leaves and then let it go for
Wow.
the winter. And then the
That's
winter,
fascinating.
they sleep. And they sleep as soon as he said, as soon as it goes below 5 or 6, -5 or -6 C, 23, 24 degrees, I'm guessing somewhere around there, the tree automatically goes into sleep for the
Mm.
winter time. And yes, there's activity going on below the surface, and there's still activity throughout the tree, but at a much lower, slower level.
What's the activity that's happening below the tree?
Well, it's still breathing.
Mhm.
So there is still oxygen coming in and there's still carbon dioxide going out. It's still taking in water, though in a much slower amount. But the trees are alive. And trees they can sense when they're under attack. They can sense pain. They can sense when they're getting too much water or too little water. And so there's a certain, from what I'm understanding, certain degree that a tree can react, probably not much, but in the wintertime. It's basically, to me, it's like a hibernating bear through
Right.
the winter. It's got the basic metabolic processes going on. It sucked all the water back from the tree branches, which is why they can snap in the winter
Right.
rather than being flexible like they are in the summertime.
Mm. Yeah, so it's about I've always in my head, not having read this book or talked to a tree expert, think about the tree going like, in the fall and like the summer and the spring, it's like going out like this, it's growing and all the
It's
branches are
reaching out.
spreading. Yeah, it's reaching out. The leaves are out there trying to get more light, more water, everything. And then in the winter, it's like it's about pulling inward. It's going inward and pulling on the inside to kind of conserve and reserve and restore and all of that. It's about and more of an introspective inner kind of journey. And so it makes sense, right? Because after you've let go of all the toxic things, maybe it's the tying back to the interview, it's about all these little micro habits so that you don't have to think, you don't have to spend bandwidth thinking about where are my shoes, where are my keys, it's just there. So you have space created just because you don't have to use that processing power for that, and you can use more of the energy and space to go inward. I think
Yeah,
that's
and
really important.
the tree itself, one of the descriptions he gave it is you're closing up the solar panels for the season.
Mm.
And I think of when you're closing up the solar panels, you're going inside. And this is the time of year where, at least for the northern hemisphere, there's a lot less light.
Mm-hmm.
And so what a perfect time to take that inner journey. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to spend as much time out and about. Some people are. Artificial lighting gets you a lot of places. Myself, I tend to hibernate and stay in more. But what a perfect time as the outer world has less energy, less light, to
Mm-hmm.
light it up from the inside and focus on what can be done in there.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is really important. We have to unburden ourselves to do that.
Right. Like the trees, we have to like take all the toxins, stick them in the leaves, and then just let go of them, right? Because
Yeah.
otherwise they're just sticking around, and it's like taking up energy in ways you want more of your energy to be stored on the inside, so that doesn't have to be spent uselessly on all this, filtering the toxins and all the other stuff.
Let's go one more step down this line and see where it takes us. Who
Okay,
knows?
yeah,
I
let's
don't.
do it.
Yeah. Trees have personalities. They have their own timeline that they do. You'll see two trees bud at different times, even the
Mm-hmm.
same type of tree, and they let
Mm.
go of their leaves at different times. Certain ones play it fast and loose, and they'll keep their green leaves till the last possible second. And other ones change and drop them real early, or very conservative, maybe old timers who've seen a thing or two.
Right.
And they don't want to lose their branches from a big storm because they still had their leaves.
Right.
So if a tree plays it fast and loose too long, particularly in colder climates, and they hold on to their leaves till the last possible second to generate as much sugar as they can with the chlorophyll, basically, from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
If they hold on to them too long and there's a cold snap and the temperature goes below -5 or -6 C, their leaves are stuck on. They just automatically tripwired sleep mode,
Oh,
and they didn't have
wow.
a chance to eject their leaves. Now their leaves will change color, but are stuck on the branches,
Uh-huh.
and they're at risk the entire time through the winter because they didn't take the time to let go.
Oh, that's fascinating because they're at risk because they're heavy and they could break the fragile branches that are holding those leaves because they're heavy. Like,
Big rain and particularly winds that come up, even like I imagine Seattle probably doesn't snow quite in town, but you get some big
yeah,
storms
we've
in
been
the
getting
fall and
tons
winter
of wind.
times.
Yeah.
And so if the leaves are there, then the branches are much more likely to break. They need to shed those for safety.
Wow, isn't that fascinating? So it's doing the equivalent, right? It's when we're smart enough as we age, you kind of realize like, yeah, drop those things. They'll come back next year. Don't worry
If they
about it.
need to, they'll find us.
Exactly. Okay, so what happened with your? I love that. That was the best. exploration of trees because we're going through the same experience as because we're part of nature, and to just be conscious and recognize that and go with it, right? Because if you can go with it, then you can say, all right, I've got like a couple weeks before I can let go without jeopardizing and making it unsafe because I have all these leaves that make it a little bit more precarious for me. So why not just let go?
I'll add one more to this. We'll see where it goes, which
Okay.
is wintertime is typically when most climates get the most water.
Mm-hmm.
And so while on the outside the tree isn't doing much, beneath the surface they're collecting water for the year.
Oh.
And so they're filling their reservoir, they're filling their tanks. If we're taking our inner journey during this time, whether that's meditation, writing, whatever it is, we're filling our tanks for the rest of the year as well.
Oh, so is that where they take the water reserves during the winter that
Is
they
it
use?
fills up in the roots and around the roots and the whole network that they have around the roots. They're able to hold a lot of water there.
Oh, interesting. And then is that some of the water that they use then during a spring to grow from?
So not so much spring. I'm extrapolating, so I'm guessing here. But spring, I think historically a lot of rains come up. But after the spring, it can really dry out for the summer. And it's the rain that they collected through the winter that's then going to get them through a portion of that
Oh,
heat spell where things get really dry for a lot of places.
wow. Interesting. That's fascinating because in Chinese medicine, they talk about there is a period of water, and water is about going into the darkness and being restorative and going into the
Ooh,
intuition. It's all of those kinds of things. It's probably that phase in a Chinese cycle is during the water phase, and it's about going into your intuition, being restorative, flowing with things versus trying to resist. And
exactly, because they let go of the leaves so
yeah,
that you can flow with the wind.
yeah, I think it's really interesting. The only other thing that I'll use to riff off of this is that I woke up at five o'clock this morning for whatever reason, and I thought about, well, should I walk over to the gym? Because I live in kind of not a sketchy neighborhood, but there's some people who are a little bit crazy in my neighborhood. So I was thinking about walking to the gym, and I thought, I can't let fear dictate my life. And I'm like, oh, it's raining. I'm like, maybe I should drive. And I thought, no, no, that's another reason. Like, don't be ridiculous. So I started walking, and I thought, walk with a sense of courage and faith that
Yeah.
nothing bad will happen with you, and just embrace the darkness and the rain and just see where this walk will take you. If you don't go in like, oh my God, there may be a boogeyman around the corner, and just go with a sense of like, I'm going to appreciate the darkness and the rain. And it was interesting because I was like, oh, I can hear like all the sounds of rain. Like I could hear the raindrops on my hood. I could hear the rain going, landing on the rooftops. I could hear the rain through the gutters. And it ended up being like a symphony of rain music that was around me. And then when I looked on the ground, because it was dark, the little bits of light were reflecting off the ground and making all these beautiful patterns. And I think if you can go into the darkness and the rain and be okay with it versus like be fearful of it, scared of it, coming up with all sorts of crazy stories, of which I was doing this morning. It actually can be a beautiful journey, but you have to be okay with, like you said, the little glimpses of light, and being like, have a lot of gratitude and appreciation for those glimpses of light, and being okay with being in the dark and embracing, because that those shiny objects that were shining would not happen unless it was dark out, right? So anyway, so I think that it's
I had
possible.
on a parallel track. This is really cool. 3 days ago, I wrote a Facebook post pretty similar to that, talking about how it'd been pouring out that morning, and it would be so easy to stay in and say I don't want to get out for a run, but instead pushed myself out the door, got to the trails. As soon as I got going, it was magical. It was the
Yeah,
dance, and the
yeah.
dance of listening to the rain and of the different sights and sound because of the rain. And certainly it was darker, but it enhanced another quality to it that I couldn't have experienced had I said, I'll just stay in. It's raining, it's dark out.
Yeah, so I think I know it's when you talk about embracing the dark and embracing, I think that that's one way of doing that. When instead of kind of running away from it and creating reasons why we shouldn't be in it and being scared of it, if you just embrace it, it actually can be quite enjoyable. But it's going in with an open mind and without any prejudgments of what it means to be dark and what it means to be rainy, and then I think you can just accept it for what it is and enjoy it.
I think it takes along those lines, no mind. Don't
Mm-hmm.
think about it, just do it. And that doesn't mean don't cross the street without looking, but it means to say, do I want to go for a run in this? Well, I'd go for a run if it's not raining. Putting yourself in the car and going.
Right.
Don't even,
Don't even have the conversation in your head.
bingo.
Yeah, I
You
think
just
that's a
take
good
that
way.
step. Because it's sort of like diving into cold water.
Hmm.
You know, for a minute, it probably doesn't feel so good. It probably sucks. So you have your choice of hemming and hawing over diving into that cold water and just torturing the heck out of yourself. And then either you don't do it and you feel miserable later on that you didn't go for it, or you just torture yourself before doing it, or just get to the water and go, yeah, it's going to be cold. Splush. Oh, okay. Got that taken care of.
It's funny. I woke up this morning. I had this really weird dream, but the net of the dream was feeling a certain amount of anxiety and worry about just this period of unknown that I literally put myself in because the theory is that, and I believe this too, is that when you step into the unknown and you just walk into it knowing that, okay, I'm surrendering myself to faith and to spirit, and I know in my past history that this is going to end up being something magical that I didn't expect. But it's scary. Making that little leap into going, okay, is scary. And I literally had to talk myself off the edge. Like this morning, I'm like, oh, wow, I'm really scared. I'm like, what are you scared about, Mike? Well, I'm scared because of the unknown. I'm like, I know. The unknown is really hard. And it's like, yeah, I don't like it. I'm like, yeah, but think about like when you did go into the unknown, how all these wonderful things happen that you wouldn't even have like pure magic happen. I'm like, I know. But it was hard too. I'm like, yeah, yeah, it was hard. I get it. It's like, what can I do for you? It's like, well, can you just like get a massage today or just take it easy? It's like I think that during this time it's important to do that as well as to give yourself love because it's scary, right? This for whatever reason, we're conditioned to think about the unknown and darkness and all these water and all these different things is kind of scary because water is a surrogate for emotions, frankly. So when we go into our emotions and our darkness and we do all that stuff, it's super scary. So I think it's two things. One strategy is the one that you talked about. It's like just fast forward past the story because the story itself is suffering and painful. And then talking yourself like, because it is scary to like talk yourself like a little kid who's scared of the dark. I think both work.
I think that's essential. And that self-care element too. So you're saying, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to treasure myself. I know this is tough,
Yeah.
but we're gonna get through this. We had Jessica and I had a show a few days ago where we talk about just that and she was talking about how she came back from Taiwan and it kicked her butt is that she temporarily wasn't doing her self-care when she came back.
Mm.
And that made it doubly difficult as soon as she started talking to herself, like you're saying, and putting back in those pieces of the puzzle, putting her micro habits back in place. It was that a level of self-care allowed her to get through the darkness.
I love it. That was just like a nice bow, tied all the little threads together of our conversation.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! I love how it goes that way. So, any other thoughts on micro habits or stepping into and letting go?
It's There's a balance, and I had on Matt Kahn, Whatever Arises, love that a few days
Mm-hmm.
ago, and we were talking about surrender, and there's like surrender 1.0 and surrender 2.0. Surrender 1.0 is I surrender, I let
Right.
go of everything. Surrender 2.0, which is kind of the next step in your surrender journey, is I completely surrender. However, I have intention. It's not an ego intention, but I have intention. I want to, not only do I say I surrender, but I would like a helicopter to come along with a ladder so that I can not be drowned in the flood.
Right.
I have an intention for a next step, for a plan.
Right.
And so I'm viewing this, we've talked about last time about bringing everything into alignment. is I'm diving deep in the mornings into I have a new book that I not book for writing, like a new journal. That's my book of intention.
Mm,
And I'm going to try to get extra crystal clear of what we want coming up
mm,
with no attachment to it, but saying, all right, I completely surrender and I want to do what I can to bring focus to this
mm.
at the same time, to bring what clarity I can do. Because if you're saying universe, God, guidance, love, cheeseburger in the sky, if you're saying I can have anything I want if I'm clear about it, well, I've already surrendered. I have faith now. Okay, I guess it's time to get really, really clear about what I'm looking for
Mm,
and bring it full circle of dialing for dollars here, of not being shy to ask and receive.
yeah, and it's funny because I would say the third level of surrender, which I've been like, okay, I give up, and then the second is like, I know you know better, so like I'm willing to give it a try, and then I went through the phase two, which is okay, but if I have if I'm able to dialogue with you, I would like this thing. And then the third level to me, and not that these are like levels of anything. I'm just saying
They're
the third.
sloshing back
Yeah,
and forth.
I'd say they're third approaches, right? The third now is I'm kind of like, okay, not only do I am I saying yes, yes, yes. Okay, yes, I'm saying yes, but I'm also like taking the key to my heart and I'm unlocking it and going like throwing the gates wide
I
open
love it.
and saying, okay, like this is the most vulnerable that I can be. I'm opening up everything. It's like the kimono is like I'm completely naked here and I'm willing to receive. It's literally the gigantic let go because I think that I had like, it's like I'm letting go, and then there are all these little gates with like little secret locks all over the place, mostly in my heart, I think. And so, and that's probably the last bastion of all the different keys, that I've had. I've been like letting go slowly through all the different things. And now the key to my heart is just like, I'm like, okay,
Woo.
let's see what you got. So that's what I'd say is the third level. It's just literally, and what a perfect time for then Christmas to have that happen, right? To have that, because it's a time of love. It's a time of ultimate surrender and receiving love. So that's my manifestation and also opening and receiving that I'm trying to do for
I'm
my
so
December.
glad you shared that. I wouldn't have even thought to have mentioned that here. When I did my Matt, I had a Matt Kahn, Sam Bennett interviews earlier this week on the same day.
Hmm.
Sam Bennett is
The habits one,
yeah.
yeah, getting things done. Yeah.
So, and they're both on the same day, and I've been going through this heart opening process here as well. We're
Yeah,
paralleling
we
here,
are.
and for both of them, I'm like, I love you, man. I love you, Sam. I love you so much. And just like I'm going, oh man, what are they thinking? And I got done, and I'm like, Jessica, I love them so much. I'm going, all right, this show's getting a little bit weird because you are Michael, but it's heart open.
It is. And it's okay, but doesn't it feel great? Like when your
It does.
heart is open, it's like, oh my God, it feels great. Like it's kind of when I've been in meditation and merging with consciousness and opening up my heart, it feels like this. Like it's kind of like when you're a kid and you see the fireworks for the first time, or you see it's like something for the first time, like you see your first rainbow, or you see, sunset or sunrise. It's just this utter exquisite joy and ecstasy at that. When you open up your heart and you open up to receive those things, it's actually pretty cool energetically, I would say,
I,
when
I
I've done
want
that.
some of your meditations.
It's not orgasmic. It's more like, like, oh my God, that's so beautiful, or it's like you're just overwhelmed with awe. That's how I describe it. Yeah, that's just so, I don't know. It's just awe. Anyhow,
I get it. And that's looking at the world again somehow, and this may oversimplify it, but with like childlike eyes.
yes, absolutely. That's my whole goal, to return to innocence as a child.
So,
That's
and
my goal.
we go running down the trail and I'm like, look at that tree, look at that tree, look at those leaves, look at that stump. Wow, wow, wow.
It can be that way, right? If when you return to innocence, I think that's a goal, right? Because why do you have to go to heaven when you can actually have heaven on earth and see that everything around us is beautiful and fun and magic? But you have to open your mind and hearts to see it, because we just, over time we kind of like build all these little keys and locks and all these different things that prevent us from really seeing and truly experiencing. So,
And we have to let go of the baggage.
yeah.
We have to have faith, I think. Not faith in something so much outside of ourselves, but it's going to be all right. Even if I love this moment just as it is in the crappiness,
Right.
it's still okay. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with even loving an uncomfortable moment.
Right. And we need self-love.
Hugely so. This has been good. I
Yeah.
don't know. All right. On that note, for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou.
saying, be well, have fun, take an inner journey, and be sure to hug that tree and shine bright.
Woo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.